Boxing Insider Radio.
How dare them even to challenge me, these fighters, with their primitive boxing skills. You know what I mean? They're as good as dead.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's about how much you can take and keep moving forward.
I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
Boxing Insider Radio, bringing you the very best in boxing from around the world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to BoxingInsider.com Radio Quarantine Edition. This is our new show we'll be bringing to you every couple times a week to discuss all things boxing in this crazy time that we are in. I'm joined right now by top New York City boxing trainer and one of our co-hosts, Henry DeLeon. Henry, how are you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And before we get started, me and you have a friend who recently passed because of the coronavirus, Nelson Cuevas, and I just wanted to, real quick, just let everyone know how much he meant to a lot of us in boxing and how sorry we are to have lost him very quickly. Henry, you got anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, it was definitely a big loss to many of us, especially to a lot of people who were associated with the Mendes Boxing Gym. Nelson was honestly a tremendous person. He was just a tremendous person. It's going to be a big loss for us all.
And we're going to be planning a tribute show for Nelson in the next coming weeks when we can get some people situated. Now, joining us here on the phone is Sonia Lamonicus. Did I pronounce your last name right, Sonia?
Pretty much. Lamonicus. It's phonetic.
Lamonicus. I've been practicing this, believe it or not. Sonia is the vice president of USA Boxing Metro, which sanctions all the boxing in New York, the greater New York City area. And Sonia was involved in promoting the Ringmasters tournament, which is New York's version of the Golden Gloves, that abruptly got canceled because of the coronavirus. And we wanted to bring Sonia on the radio to discuss this and how everything happened and how everything transpired. So if you could just take us back 3 weeks ago, Sonia, when you were getting ready to promote these big events, and then everything just kind of came crashing down.
Sure. Just to start off, I just want to add two names to the RIP list because we also lost Bob Jackson out of Gleason, who, has been in the game for over 40-plus years, and it was a good friend of Bruce Silverblades, and he passed away just the other day also, which was really sad. And then also we lost the USA boxing coach, Lenny Mosley. He worked out of an MMA gym, but he was a USA boxing coach, and we were really sad about that. Anyone getting hurt from our community hurts us. So basically, the Ringmasters was moving along smoothly. We had already done about 11 or 12 shows, and on Saturday, the 7th of March, we did a show up in New Breed, and things are starting to get hot and heavy there. And we were supposed to move on the following Saturday to the Freeport Recreation Center on the 14th in honor of the Patrick Day from Joe Higgins' gym. And, about that Sunday night, Joe said he just doesn't want to do it. He doesn't think it's a good idea. The Recreation Center is saying no. And then that was basically the last of it. Colorado put out a call that week and said everything's frozen until the end of April 15th, and then they just extended it to the 30th. So right now we're in limbo. We're sad for the athletes and coaches, and we're really sad for the gyms, especially our member clubs, who make a living and create opportunities for these kids that can't be outside right now. So we're really disappointed, but we are looking forward to everybody, staying inside and flattening the curve and learning how to work out inside and using apps and using the new technology that's available to make yourself, have yourself stay in shape the best you can. So that's where we're at now.
So how was the decision originally made logistically to cancel all the events? Was it the state? Was it the USA Boxing? Was it you? Or was it a collaboration? Or how did
we had a phone conference with Dr. Osric King, who's our chief medical lead for USA Boxing, and he's also on the board for USA Boxing National Office. And, he said basically before that Saturday show on the 7th to make sure you're, wiping everything down with alcohol and peroxide and cleaning the best you can and try to keep everybody at a safe distance. But he doesn't think it's going to go on much longer. He thinks that it's going to, they're going to close everything. And then Mike McAtee, who's the national director, called us and said, look, guys, you're one of our most well-producing LBCs, but we're going to put the brakes on everything across the board, across the U.S. It's just not safe, and too many states are shutting down, and it's spreading like wildfire, and they just didn't want to take the chance with the sweat, and they didn't know if it could be transported by fluids, let alone that it's an airborne disease. We also exchanged fluids, unfortunately, when we boxed. So, it was just a decision that was made from the higher ups, and I think as much as I didn't want it to come to a halt, I think it was a good idea because we had to flatten the curve.
Do you have any idea when they are they talking when they may start it back up, or do you think this is just very far off in the future?
Well, I know it's at least until the end of this month that it's closed, but with what we're seeing online with Cuomo and de Blasio speaking, I mean, it just seems like it's going to be another 3 weeks of shutdown. So, can we start mid-May? That'd be great for me. I'd be happy with that. We have Madison Square Garden has offered to move our finals until June. So if I can squeeze in what's remaining of the Ringmasters and get this tournament done the rest of May, part of June, and then get the finals in the Garden, then that's what I'll do, In the meantime, I'm sitting here waiting for USA Boxing to give the word eventually, but right now it's not safe for anybody to do.
But you think that they'd be able to have, even if they open up the city again, that they'd be able to have a boxing even without a vaccine or with better testing? Or?
Well, I think everybody now is going to learn from this and take a step back and make sure that they're cleaning and they're more, aware of their surroundings and they're taking the time to wash their hands. I mean, in the end, it's a very sad thing that's happening to America, but it's also going to teach us a lot, and sometimes people learn better from making mistakes.
Now, the president went on TV a couple of days ago and said that he was looking to bring football and other sports back by September, and a lot of people criticized him by saying that's just too soon. And so you think that boxing might even be able to come back sooner than that, or is that just kind of like us being a little hopeful?
Well, who knows? He also had a call with all the commissioners, with the UFC team and the wrestling team, but Dana White, but he didn't involve anybody from boxing, so I don't know. I mean, I really hope it's not that long. I hope that we're able to flatten the curve and they have a solution to make it better for everybody. But right now, we can't really decide anything because everything's up in the air until everything calms down and the disease stops spreading like wildfire.
Would it be a solution to maybe have these events in like an empty arena, or?
Well, the problem with that is nobody's going to make money. We're going to stream them and sell it. That's not what this is about. This is a nonprofit organization that creates opportunities for kids, and where are the kids going to train? They're just going to fight. They have to train in gyms to get ready to fight, so that wouldn't really work either.
Well, that brings me to my next topic. What advice would you have? There's, obviously hundreds of kids in New York, but, thousands around the country. They were training in boxing gyms and got in very good shape, and now they're on hiatus. What advice would you give to them to just kind of try to stay in fighting shape while this is, going on?
Well, USA Boxing Metro has been putting out, weekly workouts that you can do for the week. And, if you have the basics down, you can practice. You can put on YouTube videos. You can watch boxing. You can put on, you can Zoom classes online. You can work out. You can watch yourself shadow box. You want to learn how to shadow box? Do 1,000 rounds during this quarantine. That's how you do it. It's about discipline. You want to be better at it, you got to do it on your own time anyway. So, if you have that space in your house and you can work out a little bit using TV or using Zoom or using what you know already, just do it. Create what you want in your mind. I take my rug, I make it into my ring. I stay on the rug, cut the corners, cutting people off. I'm moving side to side, using my defense, throwing combinations just to make sure that I'm staying sharp because I can't be in the gym either.
Right. Now,
but some of the gyms.
In regards to that.
No, Henry, go
ahead.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in regards to that, as far as like making weight, so like say if we're okay, hypothetically speaking, for May 1st to resume back with all the boxing shows and everything, how soon in May are you guys looking to make that first show? Because again, it's like you said, a lot of fighters can't fight without being in the gym, and it's also, a weight issue as far as like maintaining weight, making weight, because we're getting close to the quarterfinals, semifinals, I believe, of the tournament. Are you guys going to add like a weight allowance for these last bit of shows, or do you guys expect the fighters to still show up on weight?
Well, realistically, we're going to have to give some time for them to train, because we can't just expect them to come out of their house and jump into the ring. It's not realistic for us. So I will speak to Ray, Biggie, and the tournament directors and see what we can do. I'd be more than willing to do that. And, as long as they were on weight for the finals, that's okay with me. If we have to give an extra pound weight allowance or 2 pounds, it's no problem. If we're giving everybody the same thing, then it makes the field of play fair. So it's no problem with me.
Mm. And my other question would be, because you guys have still a couple of fights that are still double eliminations. Are you guys going to continue that double elimination since you guys are trying to meet the deadline of having the potential finals in June for Madison Square Garden? Are you guys going to continue doing the double elimination, or are you guys going to end up removing that from the tournament?
No, at this point, I believe we plan on keeping it, and if we have to double up the shows and, you box Friday, you box the next Saturday, then that's what we're going to do. Some of the brackets are small and we can do that, and I'll stack the shows for the next 6 weeks to get us to the Garden. If that's what I got to do, then we'll make it work.
Now, do you have to wait for USA Boxing National, or can you do this on your own?
We have to wait for the go-ahead for the sanctions to be allowed. Because if they're not issuing a sanction, it's an illegal show. We can't host an illegal show because it has no insurance.
Interesting. So
we're waiting on that. But in the meantime, we sent out a survivor kit to gym owners in New York, and a lot of gyms are giving out special deals where, you pay for 3 months, you get 1 month free. You pay for 6 months, you get 2 months free. They're willing to freeze memberships. They're offering online classes at a discounted rate, or, so there are gyms making accommodations for fighters and trying to help them the best they can with what they have, which is nice.
Do you think the gyms are going to open up right away as well, or what's your gut feeling on the gym situation in New York?
I think as soon as Cuomo gives the okay for non-essential businesses to open up, I think they're going to open up ASAP.
And they'll be able to practice social distancing in a boxing gym?
I'm not really sure that that's always going to be like that, but I think people will be more aware of it. But they're not going to open up non-essential businesses until they don't need to social distance, But I think from this, everybody will social distance continually for at least throughout the summer, if not more. And we'll see a lot of changes in people's lives and the way they live. I think we'll see a lot more rubber gloves and masks and rubbing alcohol and Lysol wipes and Lysol disinfectant everywhere. I know that my glove girl, when she does the table, she uses the sprays, alcohol, peroxide. We take care of the gloves because that's a swap of body fluid right there.
Right.
Well, let me ask you this. So the gyms, there was an article recently in the New York Post about Gleason's gym that talked about how there's 92 trainers there that are pretty much abruptly out of work. Are you talking to any of them? Are any of them supplementing their money with these online training classes? Is that just hopeful? I mean, how is everybody surviving right now?
Well, I think all of our trainers are hurting. I know the employees are hurting too. I mean, I think it's across the board. Everybody's hurting, especially the trainers that work out of Gleason's and they make their money from their services rendered. But, if there's no members, there's no service, and they can't even meet people in the club. They're doing some stuff online and kind of trying to do stuff through the phone, but a lot of them are suffering. They don't have much money saved up. Boxing's a poor man's sport. A lot of the trainers all over the country are former boxers that just didn't make it but love the sport and chose that life. So some people do have money saved. Some people are fine, and some people probably need the vacation, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that are also struggling.
So what can we do as people in boxing to help our own involved in this and, help everyone else other than stay home?
Well, I mean, it's tough. If you can afford it, do the Zoom classes. If your trainers are charging you $60 for a session in person, and they're charging you $25 for a Zoom lesson online, then then take it. Help them out too. This is how they make their livelihood. So if you can afford it and you can do it, if you're not out of work and you have income, then do it. Unfortunately, a lot of the gym's members are restaurant, hotel, bar staff, white collar members, some lawyers, doctors. We have a whole variety of membership, and a lot of them make their money in the same spots in the public. And if the public's not moving, then it's going to be a struggle.
And is this postponement for the Olympics, is that going to factor into the amateur stuff going on in USA Boxing, or how is that going to affect everything? Or is it going to?
It's no big deal at all. Look, at the end of the day, we have to go with what they say, and they're saying that they fast forwarded the Olympics until July 23rd, 2021. And that's fine. We have Shushu as a definite in there, and I think Christina's now going to represent Puerto Rico, and I think that it is what it is. We have to adjust. Boxing has evolved. In your life, you have to evolve, and that's what we got to do now. If that's what the world needs, we don't have a choice. Unfortunately, we don't want to cancel. We don't want to cancel the Olympics, but we do need to be, thinking about why would we want all those people in that one area? It's impossible to even social distance.
Well, anyway, is there any other things that we should bring up while we have you here on the phone as far as USA Boxing and Metro?
Well, you can follow us on Instagram at USA Boxing Metro. Facebook is USA Boxing Metro, and Twitter is USA Boxing Metro 1. And then you have my own personal, that's Lamonicus Pro Boxer. And if you have any questions or you need anything, or you have any, you might be looking for a workout or anything, I can email it to you. If anyone needs help, if they have any membership issues, if they want to talk boxing, send me an email. I'm available to help and answer questions the best I can for the kids.
And your suggestion as far as the kids is concerned is they should basically keep in shape. Shadow boxing is probably the best route for them right now.
Yeah, and the younger kids, they're online, they're remote learning. They should be following the schedule that their teacher provides. And if they need a schedule, their parents need a schedule, I can provide a schedule for them too, since I'm a teacher. But for the most part, just stay in shape, shadow box, look in the mirror, do your crunches, do your calisthenics, do your lunges, do your squats. Keep your body in shape the best you can.
Well, Sonia, thank you very much for joining us today, and we would like to have you back on the show when we can discuss this more when we know what the future is going to bring.
Great. I'll be glad to.
Henry, you still there?
Thank you, Sonia. Take care.
All right, Henry. We'll see you guys soon. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So, Henry, that was a really interesting conversation we just had with Sonia about USA Boxing. What do you think?
That was definitely interesting. It's definitely an interesting perspective. She definitely is one of the head leaders here in the metropolitan area for USA Boxing. And, it just seems to me like it's going to be a little difficult for them to be able to set it all up. She says that Madison Square Garden their finals in June, and say because we are pretty much in lockdown until the end of April 30th. So that means that they're going to have to get the ball rolling within the first week of everything being open again. So I just find it a bit difficult as far as like a fighter goes to like properly prepare. Because let's be realistic here. A lot of these fighters out here, because they don't have access to a gym, they're technically not really allowed to be outside for in large groups and all that. They're probably struggling to maintain the weight. They're probably struggling to maintain their conditioning for these fights. So I just think it's going to be interesting on how they decide to go about it afterwards.
I just personally think that June is just too soon. I'm hopeful that it could happen in June. I just don't think that it is now. I've got joined on the phone right now is our old friend Rich Mancuso. Rich, are you there?
Hey, Larry. I hope everyone is well and safe.
We are in quarantine. I am here with Henry DeLeon and Rich Mancuso. Rich is an old school boxing journalist who writes for Elite Sports New York and other places. And Rich, I wanted to bring you on this show because you were the very first person to contact me and tell me, look, this fight, we were talking about the Shakur Stevenson fight, but this fight is going to get canceled. It's going to first happen with no fans, but it's probably going to get canceled. And everybody thought you were crazy and I was crazy for repeating this, and then 2 days later, you turned out to be truthful. So let's just kind of go back a few weeks and discuss that Top Rank card that happened literally right after a Barclays Center fight went off. And no one would have thought then that the Barclays Center fight that we saw with Adam Kalnacki would be the last live boxing that we'd see for God knows how long. What can you tell us a little bit about how everything transpired?
Well, it's like when the NBA started, then there was this pyramid when everybody followed and they shut down. And boxing was in that category eventually because what happened was, Larry, as you saw, any place that had where the outbreak of the virus was starting to build up, it concerned the safety of people. And that was your first sign right there. You saw that, Madison Square Garden, the venue, and other sports that already shut down as well. But boxing, especially Top Rank, they held out to the last minute until New York State was told that they'd have to put an end to this. New York State Athletic Commission had to adhere to what Governor Cuomo had stated, that you have to shut down. And it wasn't until then that they finally made the decision. What got me, though, was, and I had heard that was going to happen, and I alerted some of the people that I know at Top Rank that this show's not going to happen. They said, no, we're still on. Both shows, in fact, in a matter of 5 days. And they went ahead with that press conference and before, as you know, which I thought was a total joke, a farce, because you knew those shows weren't going to occur. But what would happen here was that they went ahead with the plan under the assumption that, we've sold tickets, we've got everybody in town, we got to go ahead and go with the plan until we are officially told to stop. But by then it was too late because they had already, they had known that there was no way they were going to do this with no fans in the Hulu Theater or whatever. They knew what was going to happen. It was inevitable that they were going to be told you can't have these shows. So, I was privy to it by, and I got hold of it from, people in local government here where I'm involved. I'm very community active, as people know, up in the Bronx. And I got hold of it that no one's going to be able to do anything. If this thing was just going to get worse and worse, that's where we are today. But Top Rank was stubborn. They kept with the plan. And, they had everyone in town. That was the thing. I think it just bought them more time to get the fighters and the personnel out of New York back home where they could be safe. And eventually they did. And they did that fast. They were able to transport everyone back home, personnel from Top Rank and the respective fighters. They were able to get them back home. The minute the show was called off, that night people were out of town, which I got to commend them for that, because it could have been worse if they stayed another day with airline travel coming to almost a halt and everything else. So that I commend them. I don't commend them for doing what they did prior to that by going on with two shows that we knew that weren't going to happen. And why they did that, I still don't understand, because everything else by then was shut down following other sports leagues, with the exception of the UFC, which said they were going to continue, and then they stopped, they halted. So it's a mess.
Now, do you think that boxing might do some of these empty arena fights? Is that something we could look forward to in the future, or?
No, and I'll tell you why I feel that. Major League Baseball is fooling the public by saying, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. That's not going to happen. Because if you open up the doors to people again, assuming that this coronavirus onslaught has been decreased, Okay, you just can't. The safety of the public is still a viable thing to look at, and also you have the safety of the fighters as well and the personnel, because you can't risk it. You can't risk it by opening up the doors that soon. If soon a second wave of this comes in, which is being shown from the indications from other countries that have had the horrendous outbreak of this disastrous crisis. So, no, I don't see that happening, because Major League Baseball certainly won't do that. If baseball would resume, what you're going to have is a situation where they open up the stadiums. They don't let fans in. There's no revenue coming in. The big revenue stream for MLB is the fans, and besides the networks involved. So, no, I don't see that happening. There's two issues there. There's the safety part of it. Again, there's also the financial part of it. So, I don't see that happening.
Now, do you see? If you were looking in your crystal ball, when do you think we would actually start seeing fights again?
Maybe September, if we're lucky. September. I don't see anything there right now. No, not one promoter has a booking, and I can't speak worldwide because I know Japan was up and down with this. But no promoter here, at least none of the major pros, have anything booked right now. At least until they said they're not doing nothing at least till June, and I don't think they're going ahead with anything for June. So I don't think you see anything. It might be September if we're lucky. And again, it's going to be based on their listening to what the medical professionals that know more about this than you and I, and they're going to base their opinion on that. Because again, it's the safety first. That's the issue here. It's safety. And we have to look now at sports. Yeah, it's a diversion, even as much as we want boxing too. And that is a diversion to what's everything going on. Believe me, you and I know that, Larry. We want to see boxing, all right? And I've talked to people in various promotions that said they can't wait to get back to ringside, and they would hope it'd be tomorrow. But that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, and they will be listening. They will be listening to the World Health Organization officials. They will be listening to what the government is telling, what the advisors are. You know, you can't listen to what Donald Trump said. He wants everybody. He thinks everybody be back in arenas and stadiums in August. That's not going to happen.
Well, forget about what Donald Trump is saying. How about what Dana White's saying? He's trying to put on a UFC event in like a sterile environment with no fans, basically like in a bubble somewhere. None of us are even going to know where it's at, and basically put on fights like that. And you're saying that that's not going to happen, because I could see something like Eddie Hearn and DAZN, who are obviously fiending for content right now, to try to do something like that and as this goes on.
Well, where were they going to do it? That's just it. I mean, they can't do it in England.
They could do it in Saudi Arabia.
Everything's shut down there. They could do Saudi Arabia, maybe. Yeah, but how do you get the fighters to travel to Saudi Arabia if they do that? See, that's the other issue. A lot of the borders are closed. A lot of traveling has been restricted, and there's always that inevitable problem that someone could spread the virus still. That's why I'm under the true belief that everything's shut down. They're just and they're talking just to keep business flowing. They don't want the public, the fans, to say, you know, we're done, we're finished. They're trying to offer a ray of hope, which is good. We all need that right now, don't we? But really, if you're doing something like that and you're not listening to what the professionals involved in this know more than you and I, and you're doing something like that, well, then there's a risk. There's a major risk here, a major risk of this virus still spreading, and you know, we just hope that things get back to normal. But they can talk all they want. Business is down everywhere.
Well, that's my question.
They're suffering like all of us.
What is normal going to be when this is all said and done?
Normal is based on, will the public have a financial means to pay their way in to see a fight? Will there be? Yes, the fans want to see the fights, but they never have the money to go to an arena or a venue to catch a fight. The other thing is, again, and I'm going to say this again, normalcy doesn't happen here in this situation because we've never faced this before in our lifetime. Normalcy happens when we know it is safe to be where we want to be. And that's the key word, safe. And if we're not safe, we're not going to be there. And they're not going to be there. And for their business, they have to keep it going by talking that they're optimistic. If they're not optimistic, well, then, then they're obviously doing something wrong. In the meantime, they're suffering, we're suffering. And the most important thing, again, I'm going to say it again, is safety. And to make sure we're all okay. And to dig out of this hole, it's going to take a long, long time. For sports in general, I think that applies as well.
Henry, are you there?
But Rich, my question now is as far as subscriptions go, let's say for instance, DAZN sold a bunch of yearly subscriptions. Are they going to be able to somehow compensate again the fans that purchased that subscription, or are they just going to move forward as basically because they had no content for these X amount of months?
I know. No, I think you're locked.
Is it just lost?
I think you're locked in, and I think you can watch the KSI Logan Paul fight again.
You're going to go for a loss. They're not going to refund you. What's happening though on their end, and this also applies to ESPN, all the other streaming apps or whatever, they're losing because they're not going to get new people, and people that may want to now going to want to renew probably won't because they're seeing that there's no viable option if they don't have what they want. So, but they're locked in, and I don't see a way where people are going to get refunded and all that. The issue is when they do come back. When there's the question is how saturated the market's going to be. And it's not just with boxing, it's with all sports. You're going to be doubling up with this and that. And that's not going to help the subscription rates for a boxing fan or to get new fans because there are boxing fans that are also sports fans as well. And let's just say there's a major fight going against the Kentucky Derby or the Masters golf tournament or one of the other major events that resumes. I mean, that regular sports fan is not going to go to the boxing. They're going to go somewhere else, okay? So everyone loses here. That's what this is. It's a ripple effect, as I say. Everyone's going to lose. And to go back to the original question, you're locked in. If you subscribe, you're stuck. That's what you got. You're not going to get a refund.
And now my question to Rich, let's say, hypothetically speaking, we're able to resume again starting September. Let's say, for example, how quick can we expect to have fights starting if they give us the okay to resume life again in September?
That's complicated, Henry. It's a good question. It's very complicated because nothing's on the schedule now for months. And then you know what's involved in putting a boxing promotion together. You have to, there's contract, the purses, the contracts, the licensing, the transportation, the hotels. You got to look to see what the hotel industry, the airline industry is at that point. And you got to see what arenas are going to be open, which won't be open. It's a very complicated question that, frankly, I can't answer at this point. I don't think anyone can, even if you're looking at September, because it takes months to put something together. And that is a major predicament, a major issue. And boxing will suffer from this just like all sports will suffer from this. As much money as the promoters have. And I know talking to one, and I'm not going to name, that said, we're already in a loss, and we don't know if we can continue. And this is not one of the big three, but one next to the big three. Okay, because they've been able to pay some of their fighters on the contract that need the help. Okay, because you're looking at that other factor, and I really feel bad for these fighters that depend on boxing for a living. And this is why I always say to a young fighter, always look at an option. Have something to back up on, because you know, as much as you want to go for your dreams, it may not happen. You could keep fighting until you're in your mid-30s or whatever, and you're depending on boxing for a living. What happens if something happens, something like this or something else? Okay? You have nothing to fall back on. You can end up on the street. And that's what I'm worried about. You see, a lot of these young fighters have nowhere to go. I had former fighters and some current ones reach out to me for help. And frankly, I can't do it, and I'd love to. But that's the situation we're up against. It's a ripple effect all over.
Based on your knowledge, Rich, are you maybe aware of any of the promotion companies that are helping their fighters through these times?
Yeah, I know that. Besides the organizations like Ring 8, Ring 10 have set up some temporary funds that could only last about a month to help, and that's been out there in the public. I know Lou DiBella has been very much involved with his fighters. I think he's got 63 of them on the contract.
Lou has basically said on Twitter numerous times that this is going to go on a lot longer than anybody even thinks.
And Lou's a smart man. He knows what he's talking about. And never doubt Lou DiBella's word. He knows what he's talking about. And he's involved. He's one of the few, if not maybe the only one, that's also involved in this in another sport, baseball. He owns 2 minor league teams. So Lou would know more than anyone else what's going on. So he's involved in it with baseball as well. But Lou's got like 63 fighters on a contract. They've reached out to him. He's reached out to them. And he said to me that he would go down to his last penny to help any one of his fighters that need help. So he's in the process of doing that now. And I'm sure that he's under a lot of pressure because I know Lou. And Larry, you know Lou. And the way I know Lou is that he cares. This man has a heart. This man has a heart of gold and will go all out when he has to. He cares. The other promoters are also doing the same. The ones that are that are in good situations, you know, the big-time fighters, well, they have money set on the side. They're okay. And their contracts, I would assume, are going to be lived up to whenever. And they have their money that can keep them going. The other guys is another story. But from what I'm understanding, they're going to go out, these promoters, and help them when they can, as much as they can, until. How much, I don't know. How long, I don't know. But they are out there helping them. And that's good to hear.
That is really good to hear. How do you think, as the industry of boxing comes together, like what we can do to help society? What can we do other than just stay at home and try to flatten the curve?
Another good question, Larry. What we have to do is continue to do what we're doing. Keep your distance, social distancing, as much as that is difficult to do. And you know me, I like to be out there. I'm the worst one that wants to be quarantined, especially now, baseball season.
Oh, Rich, you were social distancing before it was cool.
Well, that too. But, but baseball season, I don't. I don't hibernate for 6 months. I'm out the ballpark almost every day. And if there's a fight in the ringside. But, yeah, I'm basically a loner, which is good. I like it that way, but I don't like it this way. But we have to continue to follow what they tell us to do. Now, do we believe what they say is another story. You don't know. Every day you hear a different report. But basically that seems to be working here. The curve seems to be reaching the apex. And because we have to continue social distancing, wash our hands, and just be very, very careful and play it safe. That's what we got to do. And hopefully if everybody continues to follow those procedures, we can get this number down, the curve can go down, and we can get back to a little normalcy. Perfect normalcy, no. I do not see that happening. I don't see that happening for the rest of the year and maybe going into next. So we are in trouble. We are in trouble. That's all I got to say. We are in deep trouble financially. That's one thing. Having the things we want that we do every day normal for our entertainment, boxing being a major part of it with us. we are in trouble. But the most important thing for everyone is to please stay safe and stay healthy. And for all of those that are, and I know some people, we know Nelson Cuevas is one of them. Let him rest in peace now. But personal friends and family that are hospitalized still, and some have lost their lives because of this. That goes to show you the seriousness of what this coronavirus has done to us as a society, nationwide and worldwide. So we have to look at safety first and stay together. We must all be together. I'm the politician now, but I'm versing this stuff. So I could say we need, as a society, to stick together. We're all in this, as they say, and we are. It's not one person, it's all of us. And that's what we have to remember here. And we have to stay together, help our neighbors, help our friends, help our families. As long as you're walking around, you're healthy. If someone needs help, this should be every day of our lives, but now some more than ever. So please, anyone listening, be safe and follow what they tell you to do, and be good to others that need you now.
Well, Rich, thank you very much for joining us on BoxingInsider.com radio in quarantine, and I hope we can have you on the show again real soon.
Well, I hope, Larry, that we can talk boxing real soon, but I do not, again, see that happening anytime soon. And if we do get something for September, we're going to be very fortunate that we were able to get this curve down and that we're getting somewhere. But I try to remain optimistic. And you know I'm not the most optimistic person at a lot of times.
No comment.
But I'm trying to be here and be more optimistic than I've ever been in my lifetime, because this is no laughing matter. This is a very serious situation, and really, and I'm praying for everyone, whether you have a foe, an enemy, or whatever. Now is the time for everyone to be together.
No, this is obviously bigger than any of our own petty problems. This is just, and like I said,
right.
We want to use our platform here to try to tell the stories of what's going on in boxing in regards to the coronavirus. But we want to try to help, people as much as we can in our little niche sport.
That's right, and I hope we do. I hope we could have some type of impact in the boxing community to help people. We see one thing about boxing people: we're fighters. It applies right there. We are fighters, and we know how to stick together. Through thick and thin, we're always together, and we know how to deal with adversity. And this is adversity right now, and we know how to stick together. And we're going to do it as a boxing community. We're going to do it. And we're going to do it well, and we're going to succeed, and we're going to win this fight. And that's how everybody has to feel. Win the fight against an enemy we know nothing about.
Right.
Henry, you have anything to add?
No, I think you guys hit it pretty dead on. And it's like he says, in order for us to be able to flatten the curve, we just got to continue doing what all these health officials are suggesting for us to do. That's stay indoors and continue social distancing.
That's it. It's tough to do, but we got to do it. And we got to keep praying. And as I say to everyone, God bless you all. God bless you all, and help each other.
Well, thank you very much, Rich. It was a pleasure talking to you. And again, we will talk to you again real soon.
All right, Henry, stay safe. Larry, stay safe. And again, hope to see you at ringside sooner than expected.
Sooner rather than later. You too. Thank you, Rich.
Take care, Rich.
God bless, guys.
So that was interesting. I think Rich had some very interesting points. We're going to try to get our old co-host Curtis Jones on the phone right now, Henry. So he's going to join us. So, we can have a little levity. He was just texting me. Let's see if we can't get
it's definitely an interesting point that's going on here. Yeah, we're going to have to edit this out.
No, we're not editing anything. Curtis, are you there?
Yeah, what's up, Larry?
And Henry, you've got Henry on the phone.
Yo.
Hello, DeLeon.
Curtis, what up, man?
What's up, champ?
Curtis, I miss you, man.
I miss you too, man. I miss all you guys, man. We're in the twilight zone right now.
We just had Sonia from USA Boxing Metro and Rich Mancuso discussing the pandemic and how it's affecting boxing. Sonia is hopeful that this will all kind of come back in June, and Rich thinks maybe September, October, or next year. How are you doing with everything going on right now, Curtis?
I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone, brother. I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone.
But you were one of the smart ones to get out of New York City as quickly as possible.
Yes, that's true. I've been down in North Carolina now for like 4 weeks now. Yeah, I got a
How is it out there?
Boring. Boring. Nothing going on. Just the backyard.
Are you looking forward to the day you can be training boxers again?
Of course. I mean, this not having so much energy, not doing what I do. I'm staying up all night. I'm waking up like 2:00 in the afternoon. Like, I don't even know what today's date is. Like, the day is. Like, today I just found out it was Monday. Jesus Christ.
But now, can we touch on that a little bit, Curtis? As a trainer yourself, you're obviously affected by everything that's going on. Can you tell us a little bit about that, as far as like how has everything halting affected you?
It affected me tremendously. I mean, there's no work to be made. There's no money to be made. There's none. I mean, you can't even go outside and panhandle because you might get corona going to panhandle. I mean, it's like, what can we do? It's like, it's nothing. And it's so crazy. It's like, this is a true story. I went to the gas station the other day, and there was a guy asking for money outside the Shell station. I go in. I'm not going to give him money. You know, maybe he wants to buy drugs. I don't know. So I bought him a sandwich in the gas station. And the guy would not take the sandwich from me because I may possibly have corona. So you know it's bad when, like, somebody who's homeless doesn't want to take food from you because you may have corona. That's bad.
Oh, man.
So have you been talking to a lot of your trainer friends over at Gleason's?
Yes, I've been talking to a lot of people, and sadly today, you know, I just found out former WBC cruiserweight champion Wayne Braithwaite, his mother's just passed away.
Oh no!
From the coronavirus, COVID-19. Yeah, it's so sad. Yeah, like Claire was like, she was around the boxing game from a long time, you know, in the Don King era days and stuff like that. You know, managing her son and stuff like that. That was a tremendous loss, you know, to the Gleason's community as well, as far as like to her family. So my blessings and prayers go out to Wayne and his family.
Wow. Definitely. Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of people passing away because of this virus, and it hits differently. It's one thing when you're reading it in the newspapers or in the news about it happening somewhere else. It's like a whole completely different feeling when it happens so close to home, because then you're like, wow, you know, and then that's when most people start to acknowledge and realize that this is actually a serious thing that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really wake up call, because, you know, like growing up throughout the years, we've been through different things, you know, like the Ebola, the swine flu, and so on and so forth. But it never really affected us, you know, like directly. And now it's like we're in the mix, and it's like nobody's exempt from this. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's sad to say, we just got to stay the hell away from each other. As bad as I know, Larry wants to hug me every day.
I do, Curtis. That's all I can think about.
Kiss me on the cheek. I mean, it's bad, man. I mean, it's really bad, man. And it's sad for like a lot of businesses, especially like, you know, myself and like other fighters and stuff like that. If you're an up and coming fighter right now, and it's like that little couple of thousands of dollars you get every month or a month and a half, like it's not coming to you. You know what I mean? Like me, I make money daily, like weekly, like it's not coming. So it's like, it's really rough. I mean, it's so much to watch. I mean, I think I watched every movie that's ever been made ever, and I watched the interesting documentary the other day. It's called The Tiger King, with this guy Joe Exotic. Like, this was like the most craziest documentary.
Okay, we're not talking about the Tiger King on BoxingInsider.com radio.
But I'm just saying, listen, we're talking about the pandemic. It goes with it. Like, Joe Exotic's the greatest guy I've seen ever.
I want to hear about some of the greatest guys that you're friends with that are like, there's a whole crew of you guys over at Gleason's that, train, sit in that back corner. And I just kind of wanted to hear how everyone's doing, how they're adjusting to this, and I guess financially, I mean, how is everybody that we know in boxing, how are they handling this? And are they handling it differently, the same? Some of them are doing, online classes. Heather Hardy's posting 5,000 times a day on social media. Like, everyone's handling it a little differently. How are you seeing it, and what are you hearing through the grapevine from your friends over at Gleason's?
Well, my guy Daryl Gregory, he got his 12 rounds of fitness. He's been on Instagram Live. Veronica Jeffrey's been on Instagram Live doing workouts with her, putting her Cash App and stuff like that. Melissa St. Ville, she's doing the same thing. I mean, me personally, I'm a more hands-on kind of guy, so it's like me in the virtual video is not going to work.
You would break the webcam, is what you're saying.
No, I wouldn't break the webcam. But I'm saying, like, I just don't.
Oh, come on, Curtis. We all saw your last haircut.
Oh my God, I know, right? It's horrible.
So for those of you who do not, for those of you who do not know, Curtis gave himself a haircut online, and all I can say is, we were all having a bad week, and I can speak for everyone that I know. We all had a really good laugh out of Curtis's. I can't explain it other than thank you, Curtis, on behalf of all of us.
Oh man, I'm glad I bring some humor into your life right now. Definitely in this pandemic.
Well, we're going to be doing this show a couple times a week, so I'm hoping to have you on the show with some of our friends that have been on the show in the past, and we're going to try to talk through what everyone's doing with themselves in the pandemic and tell stories. Both current and old boxing stories, to just kind of keep everybody interested and engaged, because what the hell else are we going to do? Like you said, you've already watched every movie, and this is going to go on at least another month.
A month?
At least.
A month. We're about to reach the height, the pinnacle of outbreak right now. That's we're about to reach the height of it. Right
I know. I can't watch TV right now. It's just too much.
It's too sad and it's too depressing. And it's like, if you don't watch TV, like what are you gonna do? I mean, listen, I'm tired of you're gonna listen to
BoxingInsider.com radio, of course.
Yes, you can actually listen to BoxingInsider.com radio. But I will actually say this, as a guy who's like a connoisseur of food, who loves food.
Look, Curtis, you're a connoisseur of macaroni and cheese.
Yes, but I don't want food anymore. I don't want food.
You've probably eaten enough.
I'm tired of eating. I'm tired of eating. I'm tired of even drinking Hennessy.
Like, all right, now you know now you know the world is ending if Curtis is tired of drinking Hennessy.
I mean, this is bad, man.
Times for us all right now.
Now, Curtis, I mean, maybe since you could be the person that could inspire all of us to basically get back into shape. If you were to start, like Sonia had suggested earlier on the show, that you do 1,000 rounds of shadow boxing. I mean, Curtis, we would pay to watch that on your Instagram feed.
1,000 rounds of shadow boxing.
Not in one day.
I mean, see, the way my body is set up after 23 years of boxing, I don't think 1,000 rounds of shadow boxing is even possible right now. But it is things that you actually can do to stay fit. You know what I mean? And one is like, go for a nice walk. You know what I mean? Dress up, get some Abilene, rub yourself down, put on a nice thick sweater and some sweats, cover up real good, and just go for a walk if you're not really a jogger. If your body can't support the weight, you know what I mean, for your knees and stuff, like go for a nice walk or whatever. I'm fortunate to have like some equipment inside my house right now where I have a treadmill, elliptical, and a bicycle.
Curtis, are you using the treadmill, the elliptical? Are you?
Honestly, to be totally honest with you,
I don't think you are.
I set it up. That's all I've done except the treadmill and the elliptical up and the bike. I have not yet it's like, honestly, to be totally honest with you, I've actually been in the flu and I've been kind of depressed. I have not been my outgoing, like, crazy self lately. You know what I mean? I've just been waking up 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, it's bad. And it's like, I need to break this. You know what I mean? Because I'm mentally stronger than this. I believe I've been through worse. You know what I mean? As far as, like,
well, we've never been through a pandemic before, so I mean, I think we'd all have to get through this together.
Well, you never sparred Bernard Hopkins for 6 rounds either, so like that's.
And you never sparred me before, so I mean,
that's a pandemic. I mean, you never I mean, I've been through hard things in my life. I mean, this is one of the roughest things. You know what I mean? You know, if you've never been in jail before, welcome to jail.
I don't think jail's gonna have as much food as I've been eating here. I can tell you that much.
You will be surprised. You know what I mean? I mean, you're kind of like, you got a little bit of chicken in your pocket. You know what I'm saying? You might got a full commissary. You know what I mean? You can stock up on Twinkies and stuff like that.
I can stock up on Twinkies. I'll never get my summer shape back.
Oh my God! But, just God willingly that we get through this, man. And we, one thing is like, what's so crazy is like America is excited to be fair, but we gotta stay far apart from each other right now. Stay your ass over there, and I'll stay my ass over here.
But now, just thinking like that and making jokes like that, could you just imagine being back in Gleason's where you're training me and then there's someone else training someone else like 5 feet from us and they're spitting and they're sweating and I mean it's going to be hard for us to get back into that whole environment again, don't you think?
It's definitely this is why it's a pandemic. I mean, because like people are not going to trust nobody after this. You know, like you're not gonna trust your neighbor. It's like,
oh, you're gonna basically have everyone that walks into the boxing gym is gonna have to like check their temperature, take a corona test, do something to just prove that you're not like, I mean, right? At least until we have the vaccine.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, but you gotta also remember, like it's sad to say this, is like I'm a guy that, like, even if they do come with a vaccine, I don't think I'm gonna take the vaccine. Like, and it may sound ignorant or whatever to some people, you know what I mean? Because and especially because
everyone's going to have to make a determination on whether or not they're going to take a vaccine or not. I mean,
it's like, I'm not saying I'm the healthiest guy in the world and I have the strongest genes in the world, and I'm not one of those people like, yeah, I'm cut from a different cloth, and I'm not one of those guys. I mean, I've been around people who have the flu, and I never put the flu guy willingly. Last thing I've ever been sick is like having a chicken pox or whatever the case may be. But like, I'm not interested like injecting myself with different things and stuff like that. So like, I'm going to be at a crossroads with that. You know what I mean? When that comes around, when that comes, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to take a vaccine if I don't have to, you know?
So Curtis, so just so I can feel like this is, was a little bit ago, could you just give us a till this day?
Until this day, you know what I mean?
I mean, when this is all said and done, are we going to get to see the Wilder versus Fury 3?
I mean, depending on the outcome of Fury's steroid case in on the UK, and if Wilder decides to take that route, maybe. You know what I mean? I think this actually gives Wilder actually benefits from not jumping right back into the ring with him. This is like a good, like, I can regroup, I can sit, I can relax, I can marinate, everything that happened, I can digest it, I can get over it, you know what I mean? I don't have any fears because I've been in the ring before.
Is Wilder going to win the rematch, Curtis?
I hope he wins the rematch. Jesus, I don't want to see another Tyson Fury concert.
Oh, that's good. Come on. That concert was great, and I have to tell you, on a future episode of this show, we are going to be singing a karaoke along with Tyson Fury. I can tell you that it's going to be all of us.
Jesus.
And
we had
it's a pandemic. Oh, by the way, can you believe, Curtis, our last show we had Zab Judah and Shakur Stevenson on the phone. It was just, and then we're off for like a month because this happens. I mean, we were rolling so good with our show, and I just feel that we're just about, we have to start all over again and have a more sober, show than we were having before. We were just kind of goofing around because these are different times we're living in right now.
We're living in biblical times right now. We're living in biblical times right now. Sad to say, like we're living in like the Bible times. It feels like it. If that makes sense to anybody.
Believe me, we're living through hell right now.
Yeah,
and this is going to be the worst 2 weeks of any of our lives that are just about to happen. As a country.
You know what I'm getting tired of though. To be totally honest with you, all of these new scientists that we have that's on Instagram and Facebook. Excuse me,
dude. If you're on Facebook, you're not a scientist. I've had to block everybody.
Listen, if you're on Facebook and you're on Instagram, you're not a scientist. Stop with the conspiracy theories. This is something that we all have to tackle. Like, regardless if it's man-made or not, you're not a scientist. You don't know where it came from. Nobody does. Like, just leave it as that. Oh, man. I had enough of the scientists. And everybody's a trainer now. I just want you to know. People, this is a warning. Everybody is not a trainer that's online. I'm sorry. I have to put this out there. I've seen a lot of trainers
Is there anyone you want to put on blast?
No, it's nobody I actually want to put on blast. I would never do that. But there's not a lot of trainers out there.
Henry and I will put them on blast for you.
These guys are not trainers. These guys are not teachers. These guys, I've been seeing a whole lot of people online, and I'm like, what is that he is doing? If you do that, you will hurt yourself. Do not do that.
Are they charging for lessons on Zoom?
They're doing a whole lot, man. I wish I was gifted enough to go online and actually do it. But
we could set you up with one of those things in an hour, Curtis. If you wanted to, it's just a matter of having the clients to do it. That'll pay you.
But see, to really do boxing, to really show boxing, boxing. You have to be taught. It's a hands-on thing. You can't go online. I mean, you can simulate. If you want to do a workout, I'm not a fitness trainer. This is the difference between me and a lot of people. I'm not a fitness trainer. When we had Bernard Hopkins on the podcast the week before, we had Zab, and he said it. It's a lot of fitness trainers out there, but not too many teachers. And like for me to be a teacher, I can't sit 100 miles away from you, do a video and try to show you and implicate. Not everybody can visualize something and do it. So sometimes you barely have to go in there and show them exactly what you're doing. So I'm definitely suffering because of this pandemic, because of this. And I take pride on like my ability to show people to be technically sound. So I'm definitely going through it. This is horrible.
These are interesting times we live in.
Yes, definitely. So if anybody that's listening to Boxing Insider Radio.com.
Oh, by the way, it's BoxingInsider.com radio in quarantine because this is in quarantine. This is the new show.
In quarantine, would love to donate to Curtis Spice Jones, your favorite host. My Cash App is $CURTJONES 1. Kurt Jones 1.
Let us know next week how many donations you got from that.
And on Venmo.
Oh, of course, I know Venmo.
At Curtis Space Jones 47.
Now, I would pay you on PayPal. So what about that one? Come on.
Oh! Can't leave out the PayPal there.
Can't leave out the PayPal.
Can't leave out the PayPal. Oh my God. PayPal. Let me see. Let me click that up. If anybody would love to donate to you, boy,
I'm gonna send him an invoice.
You can PayPal me at /Curtis555.
Now, Curtis, what about you on Instagram? Where are you on Instagram?
I am just_Curtis. That's it.
And Henry, what about you?
I am DeLeon Boxing.
And since he's not on the show because he's not returning my text, Jose Guzman is JLG Boxing.
Oh, hey, Jose. I love Jose.
I love Jose, too.
I love Jose.
And like I said, Curtis, thank you for joining us today. Henry, you too. We're going to be doing this show a couple times a week, depending on guests and everyone's availability. But we plan on bringing you many more of these shows as this quarantine continues.
Definitely. And everybody, don't download TikTok. They're stealing all your information.
Well, that, and I don't know how many of us want to watch strangers dance.
I don't know. Clarissa Shields posted that. She was like, Curtis, she gave me up. She was like, Curtis, you know that TikTok, they stealing all our information. That was so cute. I said, I love Clarissa so much. She was like, they stealing all our information. So you got to steal it. You got to delete it. But that's so hilarious, though. But, man, God willing, we come out of this, man. God willingly, we come out of this on top. And we don't lose too many more people close to us. And I just want to send my prayers out to my friend and my brother, Derek Jefferson, former heavyweight contender, who was in a medically induced coma from COVID-19. I just want to let everybody know that he's out of the coma. He's opened his eyes, and he's on the ventilator, and God willingly, he'll beat this.
Let's hope so.
Definitely.
All right, guys, we will talk to you guys soon, and thank you all very much for joining us here on BoxingInsider.com radio in quarantine.
Stay up to date with all things Boxing Insider at BoxingInsider.com and across all social.
It's fact. I'm the best. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't want to believe it myself, but it's the truth. I'm the best.
Until next week's fight, go to your premier boxing destination, BoxingInsider.com.